When it comes to black wealth in the Lone Star State, the real estate is absolutely unreal. A Grammy-winning neo-soul icon converted her Dallas waterfront property into a full-blown healing center with sound therapy instruments and infrared saunas. A two-time NBA champion owned a Houston palace, complete with a tropical lagoon pool, and then let it go for less than a used sedan. A young Houston rapper spent $14.5 million on a contemporary glass compound where the front door alone tips the scales at 600 pounds. Forget your average gated subdivision flex. These are black-owned Texas estates that remind you the saying about everything being bigger. Down here was not a joke, especially when it comes to building wealth. Stay with me, because the property sitting at number 1 will absolutely blow your mind. Let's kick things off at number 8 with Erykah Badu and her Dallas creative compound. Badu's property near White Rock Lake clocks in at around 5,000 square feet with 4 bedrooms, which on paper sounds like a regular upscale home. But what she did inside those walls is anything but regular. She transformed the entire residence into what she dubbed the Badudio, a hybrid living space and artistic workshop loaded with amenities that could only belong to Erykah Badu. The master bedroom features its own infrared sauna because standard steam apparently does not align with her frequency. There is an entire room devoted to meditation, filled with sonic gongs and tuning forks for sound healing sessions. A classic Fender Rhodes keyboard occupies prime real estate in the living room, standing by for those middle-of-the-night creative surges. Architect Jamie Rowe designed the home around expansive glass and open floor plans facing the lake, and the result feels less like a traditional residence and more like an immersive art experience that happens to have a kitchen. What makes this property stand out is how Badu used it for years before parting with it in 2021. The entire time she lived there, it doubled as her recording sanctuary and her personal retreat. Most famous people acquire properties to broadcast their success. Badu invested in a home that let her produce art and protect her peace inside an industry that tries to strip you of both. That lakefront setting gave her the solitude she needed for creativity without pulling her away from the Dallas culture she is rooted in. It is purposeful luxury, built around output instead of optics. And honestly, for someone who has spent an entire career doing things her own way, that tracks perfectly. Her real estate philosophy tells a bigger story too. Owning spaces that function as both personal residences and creative infrastructure means you are building equity in appreciating markets while maximizing every square foot for practical use. The Badudio was never meant to compete with the biggest or most extravagant properties in Dallas. It was designed to be a place where real music could be made. In a metro where luxury homes tend to look identical from one cul-de-sac to the next, a waterfront sound therapy sanctuary is exactly the kind of unexpected that commands attention. Infrared saunas and healing gongs inside 5,000 square feet of artistic sanctuary, quintessential Badu. But what happens when a basketball Hall of Famer constructs a lagoon-style resort home in Houston and then lets it go for spare change? Number 7 takes us to Hakeem Olajuwon, the man who showed everyone the difference between appearing wealthy and actually being wealthy. Hakeem's former residence on Pine Lake Trail in Houston's exclusive Northgate Forest area came fully loaded. It has 4 bedrooms, 6 full bathrooms, 2 powder rooms, a wine cellar, a sprawling game room, and an outdoor summer kitchen for hosting. The backyard alone was a spectacle, featuring a tropical island-inspired lagoon pool with a built-in spa and a cascading waterfall that listing agents literally called dream-worthy for the dream himself. The property was constructed in 1983, and it carried all the grandeur you would associate with a 2-time NBA champion and Hall of Fame center. Then in 2017, Hakeem unloaded the whole thing for under $600,000. Let that number settle for a moment. Under $600,000 for a Houston estate with those credentials. In plenty of cities across the country, that does not even secure a modest townhouse. But here's the brilliance behind the move. While other former athletes were pouring fortunes into massive showpiece homes and hemorrhaging cash on upkeep, property taxes, and maintenance, Hakeem was quietly stacking commercial and residential holdings all over Houston that actually put money back in his pocket every single month. He is known for owning retail centers, office complexes, and apartment buildings throughout the city. Properties that grow in value and generate consistent income, instead of just sitting there draining resources. Letting go of his personal residence at that price while maintaining a portfolio of cash-flowing commercial assets reveals something most wealthy individuals never figure out. The house you live in is a lifestyle expense, not a wealth-building tool. The real fortune lives in properties that work around the clock, whether you are home or not. His Northgate Forest estate was stunning, absolutely. But the fact that he moved on from it without hesitation while his commercial empire kept compounding tells you he is operating on a completely different financial plane than most professional athletes. He is not tied up in an impressive address with no liquidity. He is strategically positioned, with commercial assets quietly multiplying year over year. That mentality reshaped how an entire generation of Houston athletes and entrepreneurs think about real estate. Enjoy the lifestyle home, sure, but stack serious wealth through commercial properties that never need you to sleep in them. Most people in his position think the mansion is a power move. Hakeem recognized that owning the shopping center was always the bigger flex. He parted with that lagoon pool palace for pocket change, while sitting on a Houston real estate portfolio worth millions. Now let's shift to a family that has held the same piece of Texas soil for nearly a century and a half. Number 6 brings us to the Black Brothers Mule Shoe Ranch, and this one is about something far deeper than architecture. Located in rural Stevens County near Breckenridge, far from the glitz of Houston and Dallas, this 2,886-acre cattle and hunting operation represents one of the most powerful stories of generational Black land ownership you will find anywhere in this country. The Black family has maintained control of this ranch for roughly 144 years. Read that again and let it sink in. Through Jim Crow, through economic depressions, through every systemic attempt to strip Black families of their property in rural Texas, this family refused to let go. Now, 3 fourth-generation siblings have listed the ranch at approximately $8 million, breaking down to around $2,850 per acre, which is significant money for land in this part of the state. But the true value here extends way past the asking price. This is not an empty pasture sitting dormant. It is a fully functioning premier ranch with rolling grasslands and wooded creek bottoms, multiple reservoirs and stock ponds, several residential buildings, including a historic main house with separate guest quarters, and infrastructure that represents generations of steady investment, dozens of water tanks, professionally maintained fencing across the pastures, strategically placed deer blinds for hunting season, and full-scale cattle facilities that support real working operations. There is even a private hunting lodge that accommodates visitors during deer season, turning the property into both a productive agricultural business and a recreational retreat. That dual-purpose setup generates revenue from livestock while simultaneously serving as a legacy asset that anchors the family across generations. What elevates the Mule Shoe Ranch beyond its dollar figure is the cultural weight it carries. Black families maintaining rural Texas land ownership since the 1880s, surviving intact through Jim Crow and every obstacle that followed, are extraordinarily rare. Countless families were forced to sell under the pressure of property taxes alone. Developers converted farmland into housing tracts. Economic downturns made holding acreage impossible for all but the most determined owners. The Black family held firm through it all for 144 years. At $8 million, the Mule Shoe Ranch represents heritage, Texas wealth in its purest expression. land that has been debt-free for generations, producing agricultural income, gaining value as the state expands, and serving as a tangible connection between descendants and their ancestry. Proof that dirt under your feet has always been the foundation of lasting generational wealth. But what if instead of rural acreage, you wanted a French-inspired chateau outside Dallas, with a regulation bowling alley inside? Number 5 belongs to Jay Prince, and this man didn't just purchase a suburban home near Dallas. He acquired a French chateau-style mega estate in Heath, Texas, that real estate professionals have literally classified as a private resort. And after looking at the details, that description holds up. Carrying a listing price of $4.4 million as of late 2025, the property covers more than 12,000 square feet across roughly 5.46 acres of meticulously maintained grounds. 6 full-bedroom suites, including a ground-level in-law suite, because when you're entertaining family or music industry partners, everybody gets their own private quarters. No one's sharing bathrooms. No one's waiting in line. But this is where the Jay Prince estate goes to another level entirely. The entertainment features are extreme, in a way that makes most celebrity properties feel ordinary by comparison. There is a full 2-lane bowling alley integrated into the residence. Not a novelty lane for decoration, but 2 regulation lanes where you can actually hold competitive matches without stepping foot outside. A 12-seat cinema room with professional-grade audio and projection. A billiards lounge for winding down when the bowling loses its appeal. Temperature-controlled wine storage built for serious collections, because closing high-stakes deals over premium bottles for decades requires proper inventory. The main living areas soar with dramatic ceilings and wrought iron accents that give the space genuine French estate character, while a formal dining room and a sun-drenched library open onto a balcony surveying the property. The chef's kitchen showcases dark cabinetry paired with premium appliances. There's a residential elevator for moving between levels. And then there is the detail that reveals everything about who lives here, a dedicated safe room. Because when your career spans decades in one of the most intense corners of the music business, running one of the most influential Southern hip-hop labels ever created, security stops being a luxury and starts being essential infrastructure. The exterior features a resort-caliber pool and spa configuration that genuinely converts the outdoor space into something you would expect at a 5-star destination. Prince acquired this property in 2019, and since then, it has remained almost entirely shielded from public view. No media walkthroughs, no publicity tours. That level of discretion mirrors how he handles everything. Operate with tremendous influence behind closed doors, maintain total control over your narrative, and keep your private world completely walled off from your public reputation. Rap a lot. Records helped define an entire region of hip-hop, but ask the average person to describe Jay Prince's home, and they will draw a blank. That is by design. The Heath location is a calculated choice, positioned close enough to Dallas for business connectivity, but distant enough for genuine seclusion and acreage. The nearly 5.5 acres create a compound atmosphere where privacy and security are embedded in the geography itself. Number 4 introduces Gerald B. Alli, a man who built an empire. You can see across the Dallas skyline, but whose personal life stays completely invisible. Alli and his brother Troy Jr. grew Conreal into the largest Black-owned construction and real estate firm in all of Texas. And by 2021, the company was managing around $150 million in active projects. That figure alone positions Alli among the wealthiest African-American developers in the state. But here is the twist. Information about where he actually lives is almost non-existent, and that is entirely intentional. When your company handles marquee projects like the Fort Worth Arena parking structure, major commercial towers across Dallas, and large-scale developments that physically alter the city's skyline, you can assume his personal residences feature the same caliber of design and craftsmanship that Conreal delivers to its clients. Media profiles confirm he reportedly maintains multiple upscale properties throughout the Dallas area. But specific addresses, layouts, architectural specifics are virtually nowhere in the public record. That silence is strategic. Developers bidding on high-profile municipal contracts worth tens of millions have every reason to keep their personal holdings under wraps. The last thing you want is a city council member or community organizer pulling up photos of your estate while debating whether your company deserves the next public project. What we can verify is that Alli's name is attached to more than $150 million in Dallas area development, and Conreal operates from a Dallas headquarters, suggesting his primary residence sit in the affluent suburbs where executives managing 9 figures in active work tend to live. What separates developer wealth from every other category on this list is the structural advantage. Alli has access to wholesale material costs, professional relationships with architects and designers before they hit their peak, and early knowledge of which Dallas neighborhoods are about to appreciate. That insider positioning lets developers build or acquire properties at steep discounts compared to what regular buyers pay on the open market. Consider the math. If you own a construction firm and decide to build your ideal home, you are paying cost on materials, on labor, and managing the entire project internally. No markups, no contractor premiums, no retail pricing. A property that would cost a normal buyer $5 million might cost Alli half as much to construct. His wealth engine runs on active operations rather than passive holdings. Conreal generates revenue through construction contracts, with profits cycling back into new developments and personal real estate acquisitions. That creates a compounding loop where business wins fund property purchases, which provide collateral for bigger projects, which produce more profit for more acquisitions. The fact that his home does not appear in a single Google search result is probably exactly how he prefers it. Accumulate wealth quietly. Execute powerfully. Let the projects do the talking instead of the lifestyle. Number 3 features Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and his monochrome wellness compound. When 50 relocated to Houston in 2021, understand that the move was never purely about finding a nice place to live. It was about tax strategy, business positioning, and making a statement. His Houston property accomplishes all 3 objectives simultaneously. Based on coverage from major design and entertainment publications, the interior follows a bold black and white color scheme throughout, which is either masterful minimalism or intensely dramatic, depending on your feelings about monochrome living. Probably a little of both, but the real revelation is the wellness infrastructure that elevates this property from a large house into what amounts to a private recovery facility. There is a dedicated spa wing housing a sauna for post-training recovery, a cold plunge pool for the kind of contrast therapy that elite athletes and biohacking enthusiasts rely on, and an indoor lap pool that allows year-round swimming no matter what Houston's climate decides to do that week. There is also a custom screening room for private film viewing, naturally, along with climate-controlled wine storage, housing a substantial collection, which makes complete sense given that 50 has direct financial stakes in the spirits industry. That storage is not just about lifestyle preferences, it is practically inventory research. The precise location remains confidential for security purposes, and before anyone calls that excessive, keep in mind he has decades of very public rivalries. He is a survivor of 9 gunshot wounds, and his career was built on calculated intensity. When he keeps his address out of public reach, it is not vanity. It is a practical security measure. The timing of his Texas relocation was strategically sharp. He moved during a window when the state offered enormous tax benefits for high-income earners compared to California and New York, where he had spent most of his career. Without state income tax, Houston lets him retain substantially more revenue from music royalties, production deals, business ventures, and every other income stream in his diversified portfolio. The monochrome aesthetic is not accidental either. Everything about the 50 Cent brand is calibrated for maximum impact. A black and white fortress reinforces the hard-edged, no-compromise image he has maintained for over 2 decades. It is opulence, but it is assertive opulence, the kind that communicates dominance rather than softness. His Houston compound functions as both personal headquarters and professional asset, a venue for hosting collaborators, conducting business, entertaining industry contacts, and projecting success to anyone who walks through the door. In hip-hop, your home is an extension of your brand, and his monochrome stronghold sends an unmistakable signal. Number 2 takes us to Dr. Kase Lawal, and his story represents an entirely different dimension of black wealth in Texas. He is a Nigerian-born oil executive whose capital, combined with institutional banking power, has shaped Houston's financial landscape for decades. Lawal has been a longtime investor in Unity National Bank, the sole black-owned banking institution in Texas, with his family assuming majority ownership back in 2005. He also chairs multiple energy companies, placing him at the crossroads of Houston's 2 most dominant industries, petroleum and finance. His personal Houston residence is reported at approximately 15,000 square feet, dramatically larger than standard luxury homes and firmly in the territory of estate-level properties that signal deep generational wealth. Specific details stay private for obvious reasons when you control banking assets and oil interests simultaneously. Broadcasting your home address is not on the agenda. Public records and media profiles consistently reference the scale and premium finishes throughout. The estate reportedly includes a private cinema, a personal spa for recovery and wellness, and custom detailing throughout that reflects his standing among Houston's most accomplished international business leaders. At 15,000 square feet, the property almost certainly features separate wings for family, visitors, household staff, and formal entertaining, creating clear boundaries between intimate and semi-public spaces. What makes his wealth model particularly notable is the structural diversity. Oil industry returns deliver massive cash flow, and ownership of Unity National Bank provides institutional credibility and measurable community impact that reaches far beyond personal enrichment. Unity National Bank has served as a critical financial lifeline for underserved Houston communities, directly linking Lawal's financial success to broader economic uplift. The trajectory from Nigerian immigrant to energy industry titan is relatively uncommon in American wealth narratives, and his achievements demonstrate how international business acumen, paired with strategic industry positioning, can build extraordinary fortunes. Houston's status as the nation's energy capital opened doors for someone with Lawal's background to generate wealth that might not have materialized anywhere else. His diversified model, oil returns feeding into conservative banking investments, creates protection against sector-specific downturns. When petroleum prices decline, banking income steadies the ship. When banking faces regulatory headwinds, energy assets provide liquidity. That kind of structural balance is what distinguishes temporary prosperity from wealth that endures across generations. And finally, at number 1, we have Travis Scott and his $14.5 million architectural statement in Houston's Museum District. The front door weighs 600 pounds. That's just the front door. Travis Scott's residence at 5750 Main Street features a massive pivot door, engineered with the kind of precision usually reserved for commercial installations. And honestly, that one detail captures the spirit of this entire property. He acquired this striking contemporary compound around 2019 for roughly $14.5 million. And at just 27 years old at the time, that was the kind of real estate decision that separates people who genuinely understand wealth building from people who simply spend aggressively. The home stretches approximately 12,000 square feet across 3 levels, and it sits on 1.5 acres directly adjacent to Herman Park. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls deliver uninterrupted sightlines across Houston's museum campus. This is not just a residence with pleasant surroundings. It is architecturally woven into one of the city's most significant cultural corridors in a way that makes the property itself feel like a natural extension of the neighborhood's artistic identity. Step past the 600-pound front door, and you enter a soaring double-height, great room where full-height glazing dissolves the boundary between interior living space and the landscape beyond. The entire design philosophy centers on openness and connection to the surrounding cultural institutions. You are not gazing out at generic suburban landscaping. You are looking at world-renowned museums and parkland that make the residents feel culturally embedded rather than isolated on its own plot. And here's the detail that catches everyone off guard. Despite spanning 12,000 square feet, the home contains just 3 bedrooms. 3. Properties this size typically pack in 8 or 10 at minimum, but each bedroom is massive, anchored by spa-caliber bathrooms that rival high-end hotel suites. The reduced bedroom count makes perfect sense once you see where the square footage actually went. There is a 15-seat private cinema with professional projection and sound, a fully outfitted training gym, and multiple flexible studio and entertainment spaces where he can work on music without ever leaving the premises. This home was not built to accommodate a crowd of overnight guests. It was designed for living and creating at the absolute highest standard. The outdoor spaces include dual swimming pools, one featuring a waterfall, a poolside pavilion, and a detached guest house for visitors or staff. The professional-grade kitchen is equipped with top-tier appliances, including commercial refrigeration and premium ranges, centered around a substantial island that serves double duty for food preparation and casual dining. What truly separates this property from every other rapper's mansion is its museum district positioning. This is not about counting square footage or listing amenities. It is about occupying one of Houston's most culturally prestigious addresses, surrounded by world-class institutions and directly bordering Herman Park's green corridors. Those glass walls are not merely a design choice. They frame views of museums and parkland that weave the home into Houston's cultural fabric rather than setting it apart. You are not just purchasing a structure, you are purchasing irreplaceable context. At 27, Travis Scott demonstrated a level of real estate sophistication that most people do not reach in a lifetime. Rather than chasing the largest possible footprint in a cookie-cutter subdivision where every mansion mirrors its neighbor, he invested in architecturally significant property within an elite urban location poised to appreciate as the museum district continues to evolve. The clean contemporary design guarantees the home will not feel outdated 2 decades from now. No fleeting trends, no gimmicky details that will look embarrassing by 2035. It is timeless modern architecture that outlasts every passing fad, which is precisely what you want, protecting a $14.5 million investment. And those museum campus views cannot be duplicated. That context does not exist anywhere else in Houston. The property's long-term value is permanently tied to Herman Park and the surrounding cultural institutions. And since those museums are endowed organizations backed by hundreds of millions in funding, that premium location is not going anywhere. A Houston cultural icon whose home mirrors the city's creative soul while functioning as a genuinely important piece of modern architecture. And truthfully, that might be the most Texas move imaginable, going so big that your front door outweighs most people's vehicles. And that wraps up our deep dive into these incredible Texas mansions that are genuinely operating on another level. Which property impressed you the most? Drop it in the comments. And for more fascinating glimpses into how Black wealth is thriving around the world, check out the rest of our channel.